we've gotten to this point where people are actually willing to say this kind of thing. But if you look at the article too, well, we didn't even mention this earlier in the show. These people locked themselves into an administrative building for 3 days. I'm curious to see if they left for the bathroom at some point or if they tried to get food. But the fact of the matter is, they weren't letting the administration into an on-campus building for 3 days. People are actually this crazy. This isn't because somebody got shot on campus. This isn't because there was some racist professor or some administrator that needed to go. This was because simply they wanted to have their own specific black housing. This, like, it would be different if this was some sort of a reaction to something crazy that happened on the campus, but there's no purpose to it. It's not in reaction to something. It's an initiative taken to follow along with the liberal narrative. And literally, these people are so. I keep using the term brainwash because that's what it is. These people are so indoctrinated into their beliefs that they are resisting hearing anything beyond what they believe is true. Because if they hear anything that shakes up what they believe, then it is going to completely destroy the way that they understand reality, and they just can't have that. And they're just going to continue to use other people's money, taxpayer money, donor money to the school to continue to propagate these beliefs and fundamentally change the way that our country has lived forever, and put our way of life and our families in danger of living. And people look at just the regular college campus situation, and this is one piece that's indicative of the whole. But what makes this unique is that it is so extreme that people are just doing these things out of nowhere now. It can take anything. It won't take anything to set them off, to trigger them, or to just make them think they're entitled to this new system, this new accommodation.
Like
It's scary.
like I said, my race is the race of double standard, the race of hypocrisy, the most sensitive race, and quite frankly, the most insecure race. If they came from an area where they were told no most of their lives, and then they get on to an area where everybody's telling them yes, 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 they're going to take everything that their parents threw taught them for 18 years and threw it right out the window, and they're going to replace it with their own mindset. And then when they go home, their parents are going to tell them, "You're back at home. You better obey by my rules." And they're going to say, "I don't have to obey by your rules." They're destroying their own families, and they don't even know it. And
Exactly.
I'm telling you this right now. If this is what's going to happen within the next 6 months, or if not the next 6 months, within the next year, if we don't get the political correctness under control on these college campuses and get these kids to understand the true meaning of free speech, we're looking
Yes.
at another Kent State on on a level 50 times worse than what happened back in 1970 at that college. We're talking about U.S. Army or National Guard or police going on a
Yep.
college campus
Yep.
to keep these kids under control. And if they start to fight the police, you could see potentially hundreds of kids dead on a
Yep.
university center plaza because they want think they're grown and fight the police.
And
That is a dangerous,
and
dangerous thing that's happening, and we're heading towards that way. You can look at Yale.
yeah, or you look at UC Berkeley. Well, the fact of the matter is, if we had the Obama administration in office still, which had been enabling these people over the past 8 years and teaching them that everything that they do is okay in the name of civil protest, we would have continued to be to that point. So I'm at least feeling better that we have the Trump administration that's going to keep these people in check. But the thing that no one understands is that when you send your kids away from your home, when they leave your family and they go out into college, you think that it's going to be this great place with all these wonderful things that you see in the brochures, and they're just going to grow and they're going to become all these cosmopolitan people. You're sending them into an indoctrination camp, and they're coming back home completely different from the values that you believe, with alliances to other people. They're moving away from their family, and they're moving towards this abstracted way of life and living and understanding that is contrary to, if you're a Christian, it's completely contrary to Christian beliefs. If you're a Jew, it's completely contrary to Jewish beliefs. It's contrary to any truth that we know in life. It feeds off of greed to teach socialism. It feeds off of lust to do this whole free the nipple campaign. It feeds off of abstractions of your identity as a human with the whole transgender movement. It is a
And don't
complete
forget,
warped movement.
the whole replace the gun with the dildo down in Texas movement.
Yep. No, seriously. And the thing is that when I come onto this show, when you come onto the show, when anyone comes to watch this show, it's because we we are here to defend our beliefs, and we're here to try to peacefully have these discussions. But when people are so radical that they're willing to sit inside of a building for 3 days and then follow the same stream of what's going on with UC Berkeley, and we're not telling them that it's wrong, and we're enabling them, and we're giving them more funding to do it at a public college, no less, that is only going to increase the way that this is happening. We're here to defend this, but no one is willing on that side to even listen. They're trying to shut themselves up. And how can we ever support? If you are a donor to UC Santa Cruz, if you are an alumni, how can you ever stand to think that an institution is going to literally allow kids to lock themselves into one area so that they will not hear what anyone else is saying? It is so disgusting to see how people are have been trained to want to continue the brainwashing on them themselves that they cannot stand to hear anything contrary.
I will say this. This is what happens when you give your kids too much freedom. And in addition to that, when they lock themselves in the president's office of a building, this is what happened.
It's
Back
all
in the old
anarchy.
days, back in the old days, they used to expel you for a semester or a year. Now you get free meals,
Yep.
free house, free tuition, and the whole campus looks at y'all like a bunch of entitled assholes. And that's what they are. I'm
Ex-
sorry. I'm ashamed to be black at times because of this BS.
and
And
I
it really bothers me. I'd rather be an American first and black second. Well, Christian first, American
yep.
first, and black second. That's just the truth.
And that's the thing, this whole identity politics scheme, because that's what it is, that's going on these campuses. It's designed to divide people based off of something so that the people in power can control you. And it's fueled by the liberal agenda, which at this point, I'm convinced if anyone preaches identity politics, you are a danger to the United States. You are an anti American threat to this country because you are mind manipulating people, and it is so imbued into our culture that if you
That's
don't
why I'm praying
realize
for
that.
Elizabeth Warren. That's why I'm praying for Elizabeth Warren to run in 2020, so that way Trump can whoop her ass up and down the country. Plain and simple.
Exactly. And
Whoop
I'm from
her ass.
Massachusetts too, where Elizabeth Warren is. I mean, her
Oh,
job
they
approval rating's going down though,
oh,
so there's a chance for her.
oh, oh, I'm hoping Kurt Schilling beats her ass on the polls. She deserves a good licking.
No,
Because she was,
seriously. No,
seriously.
Clinton, Obama, and everyone that Al Sharpton is the worst of them. Seriously, everyone that's been pushing this over the past 20 years, but it's culminated to this point where people are so brash that they think that they can do this is beyond me. So if, like I said, anyone listening to this, and thank you for those, we've been having some connection issues, so thank you for those of you who stuck with the show and got back onto it. But to anyone who is hearing this, if you know anyone at UC Santa Cruz or you are an alumni, call them, say that this is ridiculous because it's the fact that they're caving into this crap instead of calling the police or the National Guard to get these delinquents out of the building and actually following the code of the school that they're most likely getting for free, paid to go to a public college. Enough is enough. You know what I mean, Jimmy?
Definitely. It's enough. I'm sick and tired of these entitled bastards
Yup.
coming on to a college campus thinking that they're owed some mess.
And
I'm sorry. I mean, if you didn't come here with nothing, you are going to leave with a degree and still nothing.
And
That's
this
all there
isn't
is.
all black people on the campus. This isn't all liberals. This is the group of the radical, alt liberal population that is doing everything that they can to put cotton into their ears so that no one can stop what they're saying. But anyway, Jimmy, thanks so much for calling into the show. I got to move on to the next topic, but we're definitely going to
No
have you
problem.
back on again. And God bless you, Jimmy. You take care now.
No, no problem, man. Much love. All right, man.
All right. So, Wow, that's crazy. I love Jimmy because Jimmy is not afraid to tell it like it is. And the thing is, it's difficult to talk about this kind of politics with anyone because you know it's such a sensitive issue of race these days that Jimmy is able to talk about this stuff because he's black. And if they try to call him a racist, then he's going to say, wait, I'm black. They're going to say that to me. I've been called a racist. I've been called a young fascist, a white supremacist, a sexist, a xenophobe. I can't even tell you the amount of names that I've been called. I've been called more names than there are types of transgenders. So that that says something. Anyway, moving on to the next topic, we are going to talk a little bit about what is going on with the Sally Yates hearings. I think it's even still going on right now. This thing's been going on for hours. The woman's in there for 4 hours. I swear Lindsey Graham is going to fall asleep at some point. But anyway, we're going to bring in J.D. Rucker, who is the founder of the Federalist Party. He's a Christian, really great guy. I've seen a lot of his tweets. I've seen what they're doing. Not a huge movement yet, but I'm very curious to see some of what his plans are for it and what his take is on the whole situation with Sally Yates and Michael Flynn. Really interesting situation. Let's see if we can get him on the line.
This is JD.
Hey, G, this is Will Nardi with The Thinker. How you doing, sir?
Hi, Will. I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Thanks so much for taking time to come on to the show today.
Thanks for having me. It's appreciated.
So, starting off, I was just telling the audience that I wanted you to come on to talk a little bit about, first of all, about the Federalist Party and about your work with there and the values that you stand for, and what's going on with the whole Sally Yates situation and how we're weighing into this. So, tell me a little bit about the Federalist Party. When did you guys begin?
Technically speaking, we opened up this year. We were pushing it around the end of 2016, but we thought, why get a year ahead of ourselves? Why not just go ahead and start it? So we started in January 2017.
Yep.
Got all the paperwork, got everything official, and started rocking and rolling from there. We've been thinking about it and discussing it for many months. It really goes all the way back until July when we started realizing that, essentially we were at the point of not really knowing what was going to happen with the GOP. Is it ever going to be a truly conservative party again? Is it really ever going to go for smaller government and defending freedoms, or is it going to shift in the direction that we didn't necessarily agree with? And we came to the conclusion that it was better to at least be ready just in case, be prudent. If you continue to wait and wait and wait, then nothing will ever happen. And we decided, worst case scenario, if the GOP is able to turn around, if things are able to get much better, then it wasn't a wasted effort. We were able to put together essentially another Tea Party that can help support them. But if they do continue to lurch left, if they do push for bigger government, if they do not fulfill their promises, then we'll be at least built up and prepared to oppose them just as we oppose the Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. And I see you guys have definitely been catching a lot of traction lately, and you see a lot of sort of attention over this. But I think it's great. What are some of your core beliefs? You said it's conservatism. Does it have any? Is it aligned at all with more Christian beliefs? I noticed that you had some of that stuff within your Twitter page, but I'm just curious if you could give us a little bit of your core values here.
Certainly. Well, I personally am Christian, but we don't impose a religious belief per se on the party. We do believe in religious freedoms.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, the party itself, part of being for myself trying to be as good of a Christian as possible is making sure that we do embrace and acknowledge that there are other religions and that it's an opportunity, again, on a personal level to spread the gospel, to be that light, that beacon, spreading the word to the nation. But as far as the party itself, we keep it very simple, at least at the national level. We focus on three core principles: smaller government,
yep,
defending freedoms, and protecting life. Now, our life perspective, people will say, "Oh, but that's a religious perspective." It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Life is something that is protected. It's called out specifically as an unalienable right
Yep.
in the Declaration of Independence. And so one does not necessarily have to be a Christian or Jewish or Hindu or atheist. Life is life. We are humans no matter what religion we are. And holding that as sacred is important as Americans. It is a right to be able to live. And therefore, we have included as one of our three core principles, our three core platform beliefs, with rounded up again with smaller government and defending freedoms.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So moving a little bit towards what's going on with Sally Yates and this entire hearing, can you give us sort of the lowdown on the situation? Exactly who are the stakeholders here? What's going on? And tell us, do we think that this is going to actually have any bearing on anything, or did we know that this was coming a while?
Let's take it from reverse order. Will it have any bearing? Absolutely not. There's nothing. Nothing came out of this hearing that nobody already knew. You could have projected the answers well ahead of time.
Yep.
There were certain little tidbits of information that were confirmed. For example, Clapper confirmed that there is no evidence of this huge Russian conspiracy. I mean, that is, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily new, but confirming it from the horse's mouth was nice. We also got confirmation that we can go into the whole getting away from the Russian aspect of it, talking about the stance or the position that Sally Yates took regarding the executive orders. That was also, nothing new. She basically just said, look, it was my job to do one thing, and I allowed this aspect of my job, this loophole, so to speak, to supersede any others. And, you saw her kind of squirming a little bit, she was prepared for it, but I still think she came across a little bit disingenuous with the way that she was essentially, saying that it wasn't for political reasons, but technically it was for political reasons. She was saying under her breath.
She had just been fired.
She made the conscious decision.
Exactly. No, she had just been fired for resisting Trump's travel ban. And my question is, do you think that this was some sort of a revenge retaliation effort where she was just, hopping on the resistance train and she's doing anything that she can to try to hurt Trump? Or do you think that she was being legitimate about the fact that she had warned the Trump administration about Michael Flynn?
I don't know enough about her personally, but there are three possibilities here.
Yep.
Possibility number one, the most nefarious possibility, is that this was a great career move, and it really was. She had no future with the DOJ. She wasn't. There was no upward mobility. She'd reached her peak, and by doing this, in essence, she has, whatever she wants, book deal, Lifetime, the TV show, whatever it is. She can go on to any left-wing lobby group. She is now a famous stalwart Democrat, who stood up to Trump and stood up to the Republicans and their evil agenda and all this stuff. So that's number one. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what it was. I'm just saying that is a possibility. And for anybody to say, oh, well, she did it for this reason, that reason, it's only speculation. We don't know what's in Sally Yates' heart. So possibility number two is that it was for pure obstruction. It was, she just felt really sincerely in her heart that this was bad, and this was against the Constitution or against her principles or whatever she felt compelled to utilize as her justification for doing it. And she said, I'm going to do this, and this will hopefully at least slow it down a bit until somebody else can step in and do something else. If I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, that's what I hope it was. It's one thing to be greedy or corrupt or anything like that, but I will give her the benefit of the doubt at this point and say she truly did it for what she felt were heartfelt reasons where she felt a responsibility and she felt a justification within her job role to be able to do that. And then option number three is that, and this is probably the least likely of the options, but she knew she was out anyway. Why not go out with a bang? Why not go and make a little bit of a fuss and here, hold my beer, watch this. I doubt that that's the case, but again, it's a possibility. You never know. Nobody knows Sally Yates except for probably her immediate family and herself. So
Well,
we'll never know why she did it.
my problem with this entire situation is that if the Democrats knew all along that Flynn was shady and criticized Trump for missing red flags, why did Obama renew Flynn's security clearance in 2016? Why was he still under this entire thing when supposedly the FBI had been doing this probe for a much longer time? And why is it that this information did not come out prior to Trump coming into office? Were they just waiting for this to happen so that they could hurt Trump with this? Because it honestly just seems like they planted some sort of a mistake for him to make so that they could call him out on it later. Meanwhile, Trump is coming into the office, and I doubt that they're actually giving him any of this information because the prior administration had just been completely campaigning against him. Obama had been openly
Right.
against him. I, I just don't understand why no one is coming at the Democrats for their own incompetency in the situation, and they're just pinning it totally on Trump.
Well, that was a mistake today, I think, by the Republicans. You know, this was first. This there was not supposed to be. This was about Russia. This wasn't really supposed to be talking about the executive order or Sally Yates' personal motivations for doing this, that, or the other. This really was to find out the truth about Russia. And I don't think the Republicans did a stellar job. Some of them did. They did okay, but I think that there were opportunities missed because that is just like you said. That's the big question. Is that I think I heard it twice mentioned in passing about and one of those times was by Clapper himself, who said, when they asked him, how did you let this guy through? And he's like, well, I mean, he's been through he's had clearance for a long, long time. Don't blame me, basically. And then the follow-up question that should have been, well, so when did he get clearance? Why did he get clearance? How did he get clearance? And
Yep.
if he had all this clearance, how could they not know if he was talking to the Russians? Why did it have to wait until way after he's already gone, way after he's now
Now that
being
he's in
considered for vice
Trump's
president,
hands.
and now he's
Yep.
a Trump guy. Why is it all being revealed now? Yes, people listen. There is no such thing as an apolitical move when it comes to DC. Okay, even if it's not completely political, there's always a spin to it.
Yep.
That the people that make these decisions, they look at every situation and they plan it out properly. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily bad. I don't like it, but that's part of the game. And so if I don't like it, then I shouldn't be trying to play the game myself, because I'm going to have to be faced with these types of challenges in the future. So there it brings up the real question. If they did know about this and they did plan it out to where it was revealed at the time where it could do the most damage to Trump, then why has there not been more? In other words, did they just fall short? Were they unable to come up with any true and tangible evidence outside of the speculation, outside of we know that Michael Flynn did a lot of things that he shouldn't have. We know that he was put at risk. But the fact that if they knew about it, the real question should be this: how would you even allow the President of the United States to select him for such a high position if you knew going in there was an investigation? Why didn't you go to Trump before Inauguration Day and say, hey, I know that you're considering Mike Flynn, you need to see this first?
Exactly.
The only reason that could possibly be the case, there's only two possibilities. Either they did their entire investigation and everything came to light after Trump was inaugurated, which we know is not the case.
Yep, because she
or
admitted it.
Somebody said, ooh, yeah, exactly. Or somebody said, ooh, look at this. We got him. We got
We can hurt
his
Trump
first
somewhere.
black eye. We're going to punch him with it.
Exactly.
And it's ridiculous. There's times when you can play a little bit dirty in politics. That's really dirty. If this was something that was huge, and they literally would have taken a situation where they put Americans at risk, they put American security at risk for the sake of their political party's gain, and that is wrong. You cannot convince me that there's any benefit to that whatsoever.
Exactly. And no, seriously, you make a really good point there. And I think President Trump made a point of sort of bringing this up for everyone to realize ahead of the testimony when he tweeted out saying, ask Sally Yates under oath if she knows how classified information got into the newspapers soon after she explained it to the White House counsel. So this just goes to show that she specifically, I think it was the Washington Post that first put out the story,
It
but
was.
this just goes to show how Yates, who supposedly kept this all classified under the table between Trump, purposefully put this out there for the media to get a hold of, purposefully left the breadcrumb trail and the seeds so that they would think that this was there and that they would think that Trump was being negligent in his decision making so that they could hurt the Trump administration early on. And at this point, it's entirely obvious that there was political motives behind this, because if she really cared about the American people, and if she really cared about what was going on, they would have, first of all, they would have taken him out when Obama was still in office. I don't know why they thought that they had to wait an extra couple of weeks. They would have taken him out prior, and they would have defamed him in the media already for this, or if not having done it quietly. This entire thing reeks of political manipulation at the risk of American lives. It's disgusting to
Yes.
think that people are even considering using this against Trump, when the fact of the matter is it was entirely purposefully, intentionally done in this way, and no one's called it out yet. No one has said, aside
No.
from the president.
Well, and they tried. They did a little bit. They were actually heading in that direction during today's questioning when they started asking, okay, so did you leak it to, or did you tell anybody who could have leaked it to? And they should have pushed this further in that regard by saying, look, let's who all knew about this, okay?
Yep.
And get the names of the people that knew about this, because Ms. Yates, where somebody committed a crime. This is criminal. And don't get me wrong. Let's be very clear about this. I am all for transparency. I'm all for making certain that the people are aware of what's going on, with our government. I don't want to make it sound like there shouldn't be any leaks, or there shouldn't be anything this, that, or the other, or
Sure.
oh boo-hoo,
Yeah.
the Democrats did it, so it's bad. But if the Republicans or if the Federalists or if anybody else did it, it's not so bad. I'm not like that. I don't play that game. But I will say this: that the way that this particular situation was handled can be described as criminal, based on the information that we have. This is something that there was information that, one of two things: either it wasn't classified. We already know it was, but either it wasn't classified, and this should have been public knowledge well before Trump even took office, or it was classified, in which case there is someone high level, or perhaps was someone high level in the administration, who took classified information and leaked that to the press. And that, my friends, is against the law. You cannot do that. So they should have been able to push it further, find out with, instead of wasting time on I'm sorry, it was a waste of time to ask, what motivated you to do the executive order thing. That's done. I mean, we're three federal judges beyond that. There's nothing there, unless they're trying to put her on trial. Let's forget about, for that. There's nothing to discuss there. Let's talk about why classified information about a high-ranking public official went to the press. Classified information that should have gone directly to the president. That should have gone directly to the administration so that it could be acted upon, rather than used as an embarrassment tool.
Exactly, and
that's the question.
what it
Those
was.
are the questions that should have been asked.
But and that's what it turned out to be in the end, was that this wasn't about national security. This was about hurting Trump. And quite frankly, I'm just sick of the fact that this poor guy is in office, and all I feel like we've been doing is having hearing and testimony after another, with the Gorsuch, with this, with the travel ban, with the health care. Everything that he's done has been hit with so much resistance and so much political manipulation. And the fact that Gorsuch was hit with manipulation because he was simply, and they had already unanimously voted him into the appeals court, and then simply because he was selected by Trump with Trump's name on it, they have to oppose it. The entire political system of the Democrats has changed so that it is entirely towards sabotaging our president. And this is not a unified government. This is not, it's just like Lincoln said, a house divided among itself cannot stand. We're not supposed to be in a
Right?
civil war with ourselves within office. If people are taking the oath to serve this country, I don't care at what level, I don't care if you're the janitor in the building who may have leaked it to the press. You're doing this because not only does it affect you, it affects your family, it affects your kids, it affects the safety of this country. And I don't know how people can sleep at night thinking that they could have risked people's lives by putting this together. It's just disgusting to me.
It is. It is. And here's the sad part. Well, I have many grievances, many items that I oppose that are currently being pushed out by the GOP. But those are substantive. Those are items that where I disagree from a policy perspective. There's no need for if the Democrats really wanted to make an impact, they should be trying to fight this from an ideological perspective. They should be saying
Yep.
this is our philosophy, and we oppose for this reason, or we are going to push for this, instead of trying to discredit the opposition. Here's the thing: they have to go down this road, and I'm not ripping on every Democrat. I'm
Yeah.
ripping on the Democratic leadership. Just as I don't rip on Republicans, I rip on Republican leadership. The Democratic leadership has decided, guys, we've got to fight as dirty as possible. I want you to get copies of Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, get it out to
Yep.
everybody, have them
Yep.
read it thoroughly, and this is our playbook going forward. We're going to disrupt. We're going to pout. We're going to redirect. We're going to take every aspect of the media and try to get it to our side. We're going to make certain that we make Trump. This has gone personal. This isn't like the attacks they did against Ronald Reagan or either of the Bushes. This has turned into a personal vendetta to where they don't just disagree with Trump's policy. They disagree with Trump's existence. And that is why they are, I don't know how this is going to play out.
Yep.
Because the media is powerful and the media is in their side. But if the American people
Not
are
this
discerning,
media.
and if we go in with open eyes,
Yeah.
they should be able to see that this is a joke. That the Democrats are not just playing dirty; they're playing.
They're playing with
This is
people's
bad,
lives.
and it should look bad on them. Yes, this should look horrible. Just for sheer style points, they should be looking as bad as possible. And that's, again, like I said, if they wanted to take a fight and make it about ideology, if they wanted to make it about their perspectives versus Trump's perspectives or versus the GOP's perspectives, then I think that's a fair fight.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something where they can do that, and that's fair, and may the best ideology win. But either they don't believe in their own ideology, which I think is a very, very distinct possibility, especially for some of them, or they just don't. They're just so blinded by utter hatred for Donald Trump that they can't even see what they're doing wrong or how they're making mistakes.
JD.
And I think both possibilities are very likely.
Oh, entirely. And you bring up so many good points. First of all, you're entirely right. Anytime Trump's name is attached to anything, there's some sort of a problem with it. But, like I said, this is just a crazy situation. But thank you so much for coming on to the show and for talking about this. I'd love to have you back
Will,
on
thanks
again.
for having me.
And, hey, I'll talk to you later.
Anytime. All right, Will. Thank you very much.
And we have a new caller coming on to the show. Hi, how's it going? You're on with The Thinker.
Great, Christine, Gold Star Mother, Right Side Broadcasting. There is another possibility that you're not mentioning, and that is just plain and simplest because this is simply a battle of good versus evil.
Yep.
And when you look at those Democrats and you look at them, they hiss, they slither, they squirm, they lick their lips. They're just absolutely evil. And it is absolutely,
Yep.
Trump is the absolute threat, and they're cringing from him like the vampire would from a cross.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I said
And that's the root of it.
Well, exactly. And I said this on the show. I don't know if it was last time, maybe it was the time before, that all politics comes down to the battle of good and evil. And the biggest issue with the Democrats is that, honestly, a lot of them are well-intentioned, and a lot of them, just like we were talking about earlier, you go to college, you get brainwashed with this mentality, and you think it's the right thing to do. And it's so sad to see, people who want to do the best get caught up in all of this, really just this craziness. But you're right. Trump is the threat. Trump is
It,
everything they stand against.
what I wish people would do is to start putting that out there louder,
Yep.
because perhaps maybe it would snap a couple of people to realize, I knew there was something, but I didn't quite get it. If we just keep saying that and keep repeating that, remember everybody, Trump is Cyrus. It's the whole battle. Everything's there. It's all right there in front of us right now.
Yep.
But we have to be louder.
Exactly.
We
No,
have to be louder.
you have
I'm
to
going to
be.
go on so somebody else can call. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Christine. No, and she's absolutely right. You have to get out there. You have to be watching alternative media. You have to be actively involved in this because look at what's happening. Just like JD was talking on the show, this is affecting the very way that you live life. And it's a battle of good versus evil. And just like JD was saying, it's not just a clash of Republicans versus Democrats. It's your philosophy, your ideology, and it's good versus evil. And the fact of the matter is, Republicans, conservatives stand for freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, everything. Democrats do not. They stand for pushing their own way. They stand for anything that is against them is hate speech. And we constantly see what's going on. We're seeing the people who are really for freedom and the Constitution are the conservatives, and the people who go with your way of life versus the people who are trying to introduce socialism and communism. And the thing is, and I say this all the time, socialism is based off of greed. It's based off of stealing what is not yours, which is, first of all, it's illegal. But it's about the entire point, which is that when you are teaching kids that they can take whatever they want, that they should be able to go to college for free on somebody else's dime because they're struggling, you're playing at the struggles of a person's lives to try to tell them that instead of, and thank you so much for donating History B, by the way. They're saying instead of uh, working hard and instead of working your way up for your family, you're teaching them that they can just take whatever they want. And that is exactly what we talked about with UC Santa Cruz earlier in the show, that they locked themselves into an administrative building for 3 days until they got exactly what they wanted. And this is what we're teaching them. And it is disgusting. It is sad. It is scared. I don't come from a rich family. I don't come from a rich background, and people are still going to say that we're this craziness. So, we're going to take another call onto the show, but you guys get what I'm saying. So it is good versus evil. How's it going? You're on with the Thinker live with Right Side Broadcasting. This is Will. How are you?
Hey, Will, I'm doing pretty good. This is Billy from Arkansas.
Hey, thanks for coming on to the show, Billy.
We actually have the same name, to be honest. But anyway, let me get to the point. The Democrats, liberals, they're in full panic mode.
Yep.
I mean, Hillary just admitted that she's openly part of the resistance.
Yep. Exactly.
I don't know how much more these people can take.
Well, you're exactly right. They're doing everything that they can to, strengthen their own core and their base, and their way of life, the way that they've been living for the past 8 years under the Obama administration, is under attack. And Trump's not going to let this happen any longer. Trump is not going to stand for this crap. He already did it with the whole removing the transgender bathroom thing. He's doing it, by pulling funding from universities that are starting to do this kind of stuff. Their way of life is in danger, and they're doing anything that they can, no matter how unethical, unscrupulous that it is, especially with this hearing, to attack them. And that's what it comes down. And it's sad to see how ugly they're willing to get and how brainwashed that they've allowed themselves to become. But you're entirely right. It's the battle of good versus evil.
I'm just glad we finally have a president in Trump that puts Americans first.
Amen to that. Hey, thanks for calling. I really appreciate it.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. And thank you so much for calling into the show, you guys. I spent about 2 hours before the show started trying to get a liberal to call into the show. No one will come near this show with a 10-foot pole. Seriously. I don't know if it's because they're afraid of me. I'm a nice guy. I'm telling you, I'm a nice guy. I'm willing to talk to you. I'm willing to reason with you. I'll break down what you believe. I'm not rude. I don't swear. I don't do any of that kind of stuff on the show. But the fact of the matter is, they're just not willing to listen to somebody besides MSNBC and crazy freaking Rachel Maddow. They're nuts. They are so afraid of getting out of what they believe. And you know, it might not be comfortable to learn that you're wrong, or it might not be comfortable to be challenged with other ideas. But come on, you guys, come on. You gotta, and this goes for us too. Like, I don't just listen to Fox News all the time. I'm on with what do you call it, Huffington Post or HuffPo, the way that it is now. You know, I'm with I go to all these different sources because the fact of the matter is that if you limit yourself to one stream of media or one source of information, that's how you get brainwashed. Whoever controls the stream of information controls your mind. And we talked about this uh, constantly on this show. That's why this is called The Thinker. That's why this is an independent program. And it's true. You can't really reason with a person who completely discredits you. I was reading some of these comments. When you say you can't reason with a liberal, they will immediately try to discredit you by saying you're racist or something or whatever. You know what? One of these days, we need to have actual conversations. And liberals love to talk about how they like to have dialogues all the time and how they love other people's feelings and diversity. But if they can't stand to know the truth, then honestly, I'm sorry, but we're just gonna have to keep trying. We have to keep trying. We have to keep doing it. Everything that we've been doing this entire time. And you know, thank you so much to everyone who calls in. Thank you so much to everyone who participates, who donates to RSBN and Rouser. You know, thank you for making this possible. And really, you know, we're not just doing this because this is some fun game for us. We're not just doing this because we have nothing better to do with our time. We're doing this because it actually affects our lives, and we're doing this because our way of life is in danger, and our entire system of living is in danger. So thank you so much again to everyone. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And we're going to be tuning out with the show. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to have a few announcements coming up with the show. And hey, just thank you so much, you guys. You take care. Bye bye.